We will start our panel discussion about adoption of cryptocurrencies into e-commerce and real life. And I'm Kate Goldfinch, the Fintech Times, and I'm happy to introduce my panelists. David Wainwright, TheRedBox, Adriaan Brink, BETR Foundation, and Tony Pearce, Reality Clash. And so cryptocurrencies created a multi-billion dollars industry, and right now it's very important to turn it into real life and real cases. And crypto e-commerce can be the answer. But let's start from the presentation, David's presentation. What is the next big thing, and how to turn the whole crypto industry into real life? So David, welcome.
Great. Hi, welcome all. As you can see, well, there's packed crowd. I think you all believe that Bitcoin is going to be the next big thing, and the amount of hype we have in this sector. So I've got 5 minutes to convince you why Bitcoin is going to take over the world. And when I say Bitcoin, I really mean cryptocurrencies. The Bitcoin may not end up being the actual currency that wins, but Bitcoin is kind of the headline that everybody understands. So when people mention cryptocurrency, there's many currencies, but the one that everybody knows is Bitcoin. So I'm really talking about cryptocurrency in general, not necessarily Bitcoin. So this is my disclaimer. Whatever I'm going to tell you, you must ignore it and don't take any decisions based on the advice that I will give you. So a little bit of background about me, that I'm really kind of an investor, so to speak, in this technical digital space. That I set up a channel called Friendly TV. I don't know if anyone here is old enough to remember. It was the first premium rate TV station that launched the quality content such as Babe Station and Super Casino. I then founded a company called Netplay TV, Hollywood TV. I have some real estate investments. Recently invested into a Japanese matchmaking investment service called Valora and a crypto casino called Real Casino. So I think we've all seen this slide probably hundreds of times, and we kind of realize that, you know, disruption is quite a real something to be kind of aware of. That we all know that Uber has no taxis. We've been told 1,000 times, but really Uber is a matchmaking service. It's not a taxi service. It never claimed to be a taxi service. It's purely a matchmaking. It matches drivers to customers, and you know, what it did very clever is it designed a platform that kind of eliminates the call center, all the processes that are required to run a taxi service. So I don't know if anyone's seen this slide. Has anyone ever seen this slide before? That is the amount of Bolivian currency that you require to buy one chicken, approximately 1 month ago. So if you wanted to buy a chicken in Venezuela, that is the amount of currency that you needed to have. And the reason is because the Venezuelan Prime Minister is able to print notes as much as he likes. So when he runs out of currency, he just prints more and more and more. So the note that you have 1 year ago is worthless today purely because he keeps printing more and more notes. And you know, there's nobody controls what he prints. Nobody controls the amount that he prints. Just when he runs out of cash, he prints some more. So obviously, you know, Venezuela is a bit of a crisis. So I was going to make this presentation interactive. I don't know how many people are going to interact, but if you have a phone, if you take a photograph of this image, I don't know if I can persuade anyone to actually try and take a photograph. You need to have an iPhone. Yeah, or a QR scanner. So basically, you know, that is the interface between, you know, your phone and, so it should have sent my contact details to you. It's frictionless. It's a very simple, easy transaction. And, you know, I could have configured it to go to someone else's website. I could have configured it to send money back to you. You could send money to me. It's a very frictionless experience. Now, my view is that we're heading for quite major disruption. And in terms of, companies like Netflix, they disrupted very, very carefully, very cleverly the way that we watched videos. So here's a slide that just shows you how small Bitcoin is today. So today, Bitcoin is worth 114 billion. A lot of these numbers on this slide are wrong in that they're slightly out of date. But it shows you kind of that Bitcoin is quite a small ecosystem, really, compared to the global banking economy. This is the number of Bitcoin wallets. So today, there's approximately 25 million Bitcoin wallets in circulation. It doesn't necessarily mean there's 25 million users, because you can have multiple wallet accounts, corporates are creating accounts, but it shows the growth from 15 to 18. This market is growing very quickly, and that shows the top 10 coins by currency. So it's quite a serious, ecosystem, the amount of wealth that's going around. So if you do a little bit of mathematics, there's 25 million wallets. The market cap of Bitcoin is 114 billion. There's various estimates to how many Bitcoins have been lost, but let's say 50% have been lost. So you end up with an average of $2,000 per wallet. And if you assume a user has 4 wallets, so the average amount that a Bitcoin customer has in his wallet is $9,000. So looking ahead the next 5 years, I think there might be potential black swans. Are you aware of a black swan? A black swan is like an event that nobody predicted. So, Brexit, I don't think anyone really predicted that. Putin, does he want a war with UK, Ukraine, Lithuania, Latvia, anyone? It may happen, it may not. I'm not predicting it will happen, but it's a potential. Are we in a housing bubble? Are house prices overvalued? Is AI and automation going to wipe out a large number of jobs? And is the euro at threat of crashing? So I'm not predicting, I'm predicting Brexit will happen, but everything else there I'm not predicting will happen. I'm just saying the potential events that could happen, which can have an effect. Has anyone seen this ring? It's a ring that you wear, and inside it is effectively a credit card. So it's a credit card inside the ring. You tap on a terminal and it makes a transaction. It'd be very, very easy to add cryptocurrency to that ring. So we're seeing a rise in kind of peer-to-peer payments. It's frictionless. You just tap on a device, the payment is made. We're seeing a huge rise in AI and automation. So according to The Guardian, the least safe jobs that are under threat from automation are telemarketers. I'm not sure we'll lose any stress over that. Loan officers, I'm not sure we'll lose any stress over that. Cashiers, in the bank, will there be a need for a cashier? I'm not sure why they say paralegal and legal assistants, but according to The Guardian, it can be affected by AI. Taxi drivers, it's quite obvious that autonomous cars could take out taxi drivers, and fast food. So I don't know if you remember the banking crisis in the UK. This was Northern Rock. There was a huge run on the bank for people to take out their savings. There's currently a lot of negative, publicity. So this was Mark Carney saying house prices will crash after Brexit. This is a slide that shows that people don't really like their bank. 71% would rather go to the dentist than speak to their bank. People hate the banks. I don't know. I've never met anybody that likes their bank, but they trust the bank. That is a slide that shows the kind of trend in property, in that we're in this kind of phase here where there's a lot of construction. Pretty much anywhere in the world you go, people are building new houses. If there's no demand for these houses, the price of houses will crash. So in my view, the banks are kind of fragile. I'm not really predicting doom and gloom. I'm not predicting that there's going to be mass riots on the streets. I'm just predicting the banks are fragile and that people will look for alternatives some of the weaker banks may fail. Something happened there. How do you go full screen? Working. Thank you. So really, you have to make your own mind up to see whether banks are kind of heading for a crisis. I'm not predicting they are. I'm just telling you that there is potential. There's potential for customers to leave banks, go to services like Revolut. There's potential for house prices to fall slightly, which would leave the banks very exposed. And there's the potential for cryptocurrency. So this here is a graph. So I picked 3 subjects. I picked Bitcoin, Pornhub, and the World Cup. So this shows the trend of people searching on Google for these. So this here was the Bitcoin hysteria. Bitcoin hit $20,000 a coin, roughly. So as you can see, and this here was the World Cup. So searches for the World Cup were negligible. So you can see that the Bitcoin has the potential to be a mass market. That more people, are searching for Bitcoin at certain points of time than they're searching for adult entertainment. I'm not saying adult entertainment is a kind of the largest thing that people search for on the internet, but it probably is. And and Bitcoin at that period was 3 times larger on an annual basis. So if you kind of look to what people kind of want, in my view, they want entertainment. They always want to communicate. The rise in kind of WhatsApp, Messenger, Facebook chat, all these applications, you tell us that people love to communicate with each other. They like to get rich, so whether it's gambling, investment, speculation, there'll always be a market for people that want to improve their wealth position. They love free stuff. Pretty much, all content now is driven by the freemium model. They love relationships. Tinder is a great example where an application came from nowhere, created kind of a new genre, and obviously disrupted classified advertising, Match.com, etc., etc. And they love to escape from whatever problems they have. So as this panel is about kind of crypto payments, this is what I see as the kind of the opportunities. I don't know what business you're in today, but you could add Bitcoin crypto payments to your website. You could quite easily add a button, pay with Bitcoin, pay with Ethereum. In all honesty, I don't think you'd expect much revenue. I don't think you would convert much revenue. In that really, the crypto community today is not a mass market community. It's kind of a community on its own. It's looking for, potentially to liquidate their crypto into fiat, but I don't think that's actually a very large market. I think they'll be looking for real estate in that, they have a lot of crypto. A lot of them are extremely wealthy. Somehow they need to convert that into real assets. They're looking for investments. They're looking for cars. And there's a very high correlation between the crypto community and cannabis. So I'm not asking you to do anything illegal, but obviously in certain countries around the world, cannabis is legal, and there's a very high crossover between the crypto community and the cannabis community. And you may say to yourself that increasingly that cannabis will be legalized. Loyalty coin is a great opportunity in that it's basically a points-based system, but customers feel extremely happy when you send them a coin. You can very easily create 100 million coins, and you can create you tell your customers that these coins are worth $1, and you can send them 1,000, 100, 10,000. Of course, they can't spend them. They're purely within your own closed garden. The points, the But customers love it. In Japan, it's a huge, huge industry now, giving away points to people. They expect it. When they make a purchase, they want some sort of points-based systems. And then, if you were here earlier this morning, we talked a lot about that. Smart contracts cannot be stopped. If you're kind of in the gambling space, you can deploy a gambling app, and nobody can stop that app. So, what I think we'll see is disruption. That payments are going to be disrupted. There'll be a rise in peer-to-peer content. We can remove the actual middleman, that people will be able to publish content direct to the end user. Finance, there's a kind of a rise in peer-to-peer financing. Entertainment, it's quite a tough, a long shot to believe that these film companies will be kind of wiped out. But I think just slowly people will be chipping away at the edges of these companies. They'll be offering alternatives. I don't think that they will crash and burn these companies, but there'll be huge opportunities to go direct. And then the big question is, will all this disrupt the banks and the governments? So the investments that I made into this space is I invested in gambling. I created a casino for people to play with crypto currency, in that we created studios in Malta, created a live casino experience, and then we allow people to play with cryptocurrency. We're not tied to any particular currency. People can play with Bitcoin, Ethereum, other gambling companies. They have their own currency. They can play with that. And I invested in a matchmaking service, which matchmakes investors to high-end projects. So I can show you a video on each, if I can get to the desktop. So this was the Japanese project that I'm working with. It's not my company. I'm purely kind of an advisor.
30 years ago, the internet connected people and changed the world. 10 years ago, smartphones made the internet an integral part of our daily lives.
The voiceover was done in Japan. It's pretty terrible, but.
And now, blockchain technology has begun to ensure a new world of trust and speed. Smart contracts keep records of all transactions, allowing for automation of direct dealings, a way for companies and individuals around the globe to make live presentations of their ideas, properties, and products for easier investment. From the island of Malta, that is what our platform has set out to accomplish. Infinite possibilities at your fingertips. Overcoming not only time and distance, but also race, culture, and religion, connecting people all over the world. For a world that Esperanto, from which the word Valora comes, aimed to create.
So I could show you the projects that they're involved with. They're quite large, $100 million plus projects. There's 2 telco projects at the moment on the platform. One to build a fiber optic in Senegal. They want $100 million. One to build a fiber optic, a mobile telecom company. And this is my real casino. I will point out that this video is totally non-advertising standards compliant. So, my view is, at the moment, everything is very technical in this space, and it needs, customer-facing, very user-friendly front ends. I think we all trust the blockchain. We all kind of know it's the future, but there isn't really today many sort of user-friendly front ends. I don't think there's many slides left, actually. Yeah, just flicked. The only slide was the Valora slide to show you if you want to invest in a fiber optic project in Senegal, get in touch. Okay. Yeah, let's go to the next one. Yeah, so this will be the interface for Real Casino. We'll have an event, which is a casino, and a simple QR code. You point the QR code, and it places the bet for you, or takes you to a website, which gives the options for the bet. So on the Valora platform, at the moment, here was 2 telecom-related projects. If you want to invest $114 million in I forget where it is. It's some war-torn. Well, what's unique about Valora is they get the projects insured. All the projects insured by the MEGA World Bank. So that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dad. So we talked a lot about cryptocurrencies and blockchain and ICO yesterday, and so let's speak more about crypto commerce. And so does it exist already or not? Because we have multi-billion dollars industry, but inside of this, like IT geeks mostly, and early investors, or not early, okay, investors from ICO, something like that. But no, those retail customer practically inside. So can we say that crypto commerce already is in this world or not?
I looked hard to find statistics on the amount of crypto commerce, and I couldn't find any. Have you ever found any? But I would say it's negligible. The amount of cups of coffee being bought in Bitcoin is probably 1 globally per day. How did you think? 100 per day.
Well, I was in
1,000 per day.
I was in a taxi in Hungary last week, and you can pay all Hungarian taxis in Budapest. You can pay Bitcoin.
So
they have QR codes in the seats.
So my view, it's on the edge. It's on the tipping point. Just obviously more merchants, more consumers, more merchants, more consumers. So today, I would say it's small. Certain things are being transacted in Bitcoin. There's a very large gambling infrastructure, but the average consumer isn't buying cups of coffee.
So those gamers on your infographic, are they consumers, retail consumers as well or not? Or it's quite a specific category? And they are quite in cryptocurrency right now. So is it crypto commerce or not?
Sorry, just explain slightly.
So I'm just asking that gamers, which are in those ecosystem right now in crypto industry, are they consumers or not? Can we consider them like crypto commerce or not?
Yeah, the people that are gambling today with crypto currencies are consumers. That Adriaan has a community of people playing on his application. We haven't actually launched our application, but there are crypto casinos out there today. Satoshi Dice, EOS Dice, and they are very successful. But if you went to 888 or William Hill or Ladbrokes and asked them what percentage of your customers are paying in cryptocurrency, I would say it's very low. It's something that's on the verge of happening.
I think you're being a bit. Can you hear me? I don't think it's quite fair because, as you know, 888 and William Hill don't take cryptocurrency, so obviously.
But do they not take it?
No,
but some of them do. Some of them do.
No, the UK. I don't think any large UK bookie takes crypto. But having said that, I'm quite close to some of the South American, the Costa Rican bookmakers, and they are seeing north of 50% of their turnover in crypto now, and significant amounts of money. I'm talking about really large grey market to black market bookmakers. So there's a hell of a lot of crypto actually in gambling, but mostly it's in the grey and black markets, not in the UK, where payments are relatively easy.
That's right. So if you're in Venezuela or China or somewhere that bans gambling and makes it very difficult to get cash onto onto the platform, onto the system, then crypto is the perfect solution. So you're right. I think today in grey markets, the industry is very healthy.
Tony, what do you think about crypto commerce? Does it exist or not?
Am I on? Yep. Well, I've sold 3,000 gums, so I kind of like it. I think gaming will be the biggest, or will be the first major take-up, in my view, of tokens and understanding how to use cryptocurrency. When gaming invented virtual currency, gamers are used to buying virtual coins and interacting with them. I think it's just the next evolution on, and that to me would be the biggest market in the next 3 to 5 years.
I think everybody that bought cryptocurrency a year ago, or maybe not a year ago, but 18 months ago, no, a year ago, it was going up such high in value. Every day people were checking their phones, and I made £1,000, I made £5,000, I made £10,000. Why would you spend that? Why would you spend that money? In that you can double it by holding on to it.
But that's buying to speculate. If you're buying to as e-commerce.
So that's the first wave. The first wave was buy to speculate, and now the second wave is buy to use, I think.
I would say that those interests to Bitcoin initially in around the hype time, so it was caused by the price. It was not the interest just to buy a cup of coffee, to make any shopping in your nearest supermarket, something like that. So for me, crypto commerce and crypto retail, it's something like that. To buy a coffee, to buy a car, to make your shopping and something. So it doesn't exist at the moment, I would say, because
it's not stable.
Yeah.
If you sell a cup of coffee, you want to
high fees. So how much will be just to pay what fee will be for the cup of coffee if you pay via any cards connected to a crypto wallet, for example?
Well, I think that's slightly different. A card connected to crypto.
Yeah. It will be extremely high.
They're probably charging 10%, aren't they?
Yeah.
10% premium to convert your crypto into fiat, and then you're paying 2% to use your card in the coffee shop.
Yeah.
So that's a transition. It's like a bridge. It's like obviously it's not really practical to pay with Bitcoin in the coffee shop. So I think the fee is like $4 or something like that. So there's a lot of problems with crypto, but I think they'll all get solved.
So what is needed? It's maybe like a conclusion. So we talked already within the previous panel about the problems in Bitcoin blockchain, something. So like a conclusion, what are the constraints right now to adopt it to mass market and to create those crypto commerce for retail customers?
My personal view is that Apple needs to embrace it. They would never do that. I think you had a good point though. There's two major issues in my view with buying anything right now in crypto. One is the cost is actually really expensive. People don't realize what gas fees are and the cost of transferring from a wallet to buying that product. The fee that costs is way higher than using a Visa card. The secondly is speed, right? I mean, CryptoKitties, a game almost crashed the Ethereum blockchain. That's a small game, It's not Visa. It can't do 4,000 transactions a second. But the plan is in 5 years' time it will do. Right, so.
I think less than 5 years' time. I think you see there's already networks that are doing many thousands of TPS right now, not Ethereum, but other cryptocurrencies. These problems will be solved, and they'll be solved quite soon. They'll be solved before anyone here goes and builds something in crypto, I think, anyway. But I do agree with what Tony is saying. I mean, in our experience launching for the World Cup, at one point during the World Cup, someone ran a survey or something on Ethereum, and he totally destroyed the gas price. We were paying $20 to place a bet in gas. So that's not sustainable, obviously. It's got to get fixed. But it will.
So we just consider particular jurisdictions like Japan and Zug and Malta and many more. right now developing the whole ecosystem and legal framework for cryptocurrencies. So do you believe that crypto commerce will be mostly developed in such the jurisdictions first of all, or not?
Yeah, well, without doubt, the larger companies that want to be regulated, want to be safe, are moving to safe jurisdictions. So Binance has moved, OKEX has moved, BitPay. So there's a whole range of tier one companies that have moved to Malta. If you don't want the regulation, need the regulation, there's no need to move to Malta. You can just operate under the radar. But Binance does some crazy figure like 1 billion a day or something like that. If you're in that league, you would want to be in a country that's kind of favorable to your business model.
So what is the first, you would say, crypto regulation and the legal framework in the country, or those solving the problems inside of Bitcoin blockchain and different blockchains to spread those, to adopt cryptocurrencies to retail? What is the first? Crypto regulation or solving problems inside of the system? I mean, IT problems.
I think they're kind of going to go hand in hand. That the banks in Malta have made it impossible to buy Bitcoin. They won't allow a transfer from your bank account to the exchange, and they won't allow the transfer from the exchange to your bank account. And they've told me that if I put crypto into my business model, they will cancel all my bank accounts. So obviously, it's very difficult to operate in Malta if the regulatory framework doesn't allow you to operate. And if the user experience is poor with all these issues, the consumer's not going to adopt it. So I would think it's about 50-50. That we need both.
But it should be kind of cooperation, maybe those sandboxes, I don't know, the involvement of the industry into governmental different like project and ecosystems, just to go hand by hand.
But the banks are private institutions. They've said that the government can't dictate what their policy is, and they say that the KYC in the crypto space is so low, they're not prepared to enter that space. But they will. Everything will change.
Yeah.
Everything can be fixed.
Tony, what do you think?
I've forgotten the question.
Regulation or user experience?
Oh, regulation. Well, regulation will come. I think we all agree that. It's just when it comes. At the moment, it is what it is. Blockchain and crypto got invented because they didn't like regulation, and it's just the fact that it's becoming more popular that the banks and the governments are getting involved, or governments anyway, and pulling regulation together. But the longer it stays away, I think the better, personally. But that's my view.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Adriaan, what do you think about crypto regulation or IT, solving IT problems hand by hand or something?
I don't personally think that regulation is currently hindering crypto's acceptance, to be honest with you. I think there's a lot of parties who stand to lose from crypto being successfully adopted, but Visa, MasterCard, banks stand to be disintermediated, and they're probably scared. I reckon it's strategic. At a strategic level, they're doing what they can to slow it down. But ultimately, technology will prevail.
There's two kinds of regulation, though. There's regulation to benefit the investor in investing into projects, which I totally agree with. There should be regulation, and I'm all for that. And then there's regulation as in, should you really be told not to do something, and banks getting involved and governments getting involved on the price of why you can and cannot use crypto? That to me is just ridiculous.
Should governments be able to say you must build tax into your cryptocurrency?
No.
I agree with you.
That's the whole reason it started, because they hated banks. People invented cryptocurrencies to get away from the fact that banks are ripping you off.
It seems to me that for retail customer, maybe in 5 years, retail customer maybe will not know at all what this means, blockchain. Inside can be blockchain and crypto and something like that, but they don't need maybe to know about that. It's the question of cooperation of IT developers and big omni-channel players like banks or telecom companies, or companies like IBM, Microsoft, or someone like that. And so it will be the deal between them, but the customer, it will be like just one button, just to pay something. It will be via mobile or wearables or anyone else or something like that. What do you think on it? Is it a big deal for big players to widespread the idea?
I think it's unstoppable. It's it started. It can't be stopped. It's unstoppable. It's going to grow. Some governments will embrace it. Some governments will try to stop it. If you asked me 20 years ago, would my mother be on the internet? I'd have said never in her lifetime.
Yeah.
Now all our mothers are on the internet.
My mom is 75 years old.
And they all have iPads
She
and
just,
iPhones.
claimed, if something happened with my laptop, so I cannot read my news on the laptop. Mom, you're 75.
Yeah, so it's the same.
Cool.
It's the same today. If I went to my mother and said, "Do you want to use Bitcoin?"
Yeah.
She would say no. Maybe she'll live 20 years. In 20 years' time, it'll just be transparent. It'll just be all built in to the ecosystem.
I just feel that all those crypto retail, it's not the question of retail customer inspiration, just to go there or not go. It's just big guys and big deals, and the customer just are supplied with a particular like the gateway to use it or not use. So it's just my point of view. I don't know. Maybe I'm not right.
Well, I have no idea really of the technology behind Visa. I'm not really interested. I have a choice: the Visa or Mastercard. Take it or leave it. And I don't need to know the technology behind it, and it'll be the same.
So personally, I decide when to use my Mastercard or Visa, knowing that, for example, if I pay by Visa, in this case, I will get like more percentage or more added values, for example, or in another case, I will have like some more values from Mastercard. So, and I will decide something maybe in this case, cryptocurrencies, and if it will be like interesting for the customer, they will get more values from this transaction. They will use it.
I think there's a rise in people that hate the middleman. The middleman
Absolutely, yeah.
is the bank, or if you look at food, people hate the supermarkets, but they still go there. but deep down, they know, that apple's been sitting in a warehouse for 1 year, and it's, it needs to change. People just want to deal direct.
Yeah.
Buy the apple, not wait a year, and not pay Tesco some ginormous fee in the middle.
Right now, in the center of Ukraine, so I'm basically from Ukraine, in Kyiv, you can go to the marketplace and to buy potato via like cryptocurrency and any wallet via mobile phone or via your plastic card. So at the center of the city. So it's quite popular project right now, quite widespread in the whole country. So maybe it will be the case for more countries like in a few years. Guys, do you believe in crypto commerce at all or not? And for retail or not? For
Yes.
widespread in retail, because you keep silence, I feel that you don't believe at all.
I do believe it. I absolutely believe it.
Yeah.
That people will start buying things with crypto, 100%. In the next year, one of the other issues is the UI. The user experience is very difficult. Still, it's hard to teach people how to open wallets up and buy it in the first place. So that needs to get easier, and it is getting easier. And there are wallets now you can download on the App Store that almost do it for you. Then the cost and the speed needs to change, and then there needs to be stuff that you can buy it on, and it will happen for sure, no doubt.
Adriaan, you're going to. Do you believe?
Sorry?
Are you a believer in crypto?
Am I a
Are you a
believer in
believer?
crypto?
I mean,
What
on
do you think?
retail level.
Crypto will change the world, absolutely.
Yeah.
In the same way the web changed the world
And your
20 years
prediction
ago.
when crypto commerce will go to retail customers, when we will be able to buy a cup of coffee for minimum fare. And
So I can't really
When
hardly
will you be able to buy a
Yeah.
cup of coffee at a fixed Bitcoin price?
yeah,
Why Bitcoin?
Well,
doesn't matter. Bitcoin and any
crypto.
cryptocurrency.
Absolutely, you can buy coffee today, like Litecoin or any other coin. Yeah, it'll come. But I think what you might see is the integration of crypto into the existing point of sale mechanism. I think
So when it will happen?
there are people doing this right now where they're essentially replacing the Mastercard, Visa point of sale terminals with crypto terminals, or integrating within those terminals.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of them doing that now. That might happen sooner than you think. It might only be a matter of years. I mean, chip and pin 5 years ago didn't exist, and they rolled that out across Europe inside of 5 years. So
And now it's contactless, isn't it? Contactless is.
I don't think you should rule out very, very fast change in the retail space. but it will rely on the crypto getting faster, and it will rely on someone having the funds to go and roll out. And I'm not, whether MasterCard and Visa got the most to lose, so maybe they'll do it and keep a piece of it. I don't know.
By the way, I know that Revolut already included as a service the ability to pay via cryptocurrencies. Yeah, right. Do you know how many cryptocurrencies are inside of Revolut?
Yeah, but it's not. It's, you can only buy Bitcoin with Revolut. You can't spend it. Yeah, it's obviously the next phase. You better spend it. So the first phase you can just buy it.
Okay.
You can't export it from Revolut. Obviously they're doing it slowly and they're probably doing it right. But there
are prepaid cards now that work on crypto. CryptoPay had one. They lost it a few months ago, but there'll be more coming out. There's quite a few out there now. But prepaid cards don't really. I don't see that being of where it's going to go to. That's an interim measure. That's basically just hooking into the existing mechanism. Ultimately, MasterCard and Visa are the parties that need to be removed. Well, that will be removed.
Okay.
Because they're not required anymore. Eventually.
It's not just retail either. I've had 2 invoices recently where I can pay in euros or they've offered Ether or Bitcoins. So businesses are now accepting crypto.
I think they prefer it, don't they?
Yeah, they do,
that's right. All my clients in the crypto space pay me and receive cryptocurrency.
We have time for a few questions, maybe if you have. Yeah, please. Do we have microphone?
I know, I can't hear anything.
Thank you.
So, kind of as I understand this whole market, the big disruptive transformative opportunity is that we have an entirely alternative ecosystem for paying digitally. So at some point, and correct me if I'm wrong, I should be able to go to Tony's site and earn a load of money from Tony's site and get tokens or coins for doing that. And I can take those coins that I've earned for doing work on your site and I can spend them on David's site. And then I can take some of the work I've done there and spend it on Adrian's site. And suddenly I don't need to worry about fiat anymore. I've just got this entirely alternative means of doing work on digitally and spending it digitally. And as I keep doing that, I start to forget about whether I can convert it into dollars or sterling. And I just think about work I'm doing in this new digital world. Is that a correct analysis? And what does it take for all those digital currencies to be interchangeable in that way?
Well, that's a good question. Hello. That's a good question. It is a reality, but those are all different currencies. Tony's currency is a different currency to my currency, is a different currency to David's currency. However, there are exchanges now that are making it easier to move between currencies. So if you go to our website, for example, you can buy our token using any one of 100 currencies, including fund tokens, Ethereum, Bitcoin, whatever. And that's done by a company called Changely. So they basically do the exchange and they back it off against the OTC exchanges. So it's happening now. It'll become more fluid in the future. And probably the number of different currencies will decrease too. Some will disappear. And so it'll become a gambling currency and a pawn currency and whatever.
So do you think then that we will have a multitude of currencies that are all interchangeable, or that will start to centralize down towards 1 or 2 dominant currencies?
Well, there already is a multitude of currencies that are interchangeable. I mean, HitPDC has 650 currency pairs trading right now. They're trading about $4 billion a day. So that market exists already. Will there be another order of magnitude more currencies? I don't think so. I think what will happen is some of the smaller ones will disappear. They'll run out of money, or people won't use them, so they'll lose their appeal. But I don't think it will all become one currency. I don't think you're going to have everyone saying, okay, Ether's the way to go. We're going to do anything else. It's just too big a marketplace for that.
Any more questions? So I suppose we have to believe in the future, in the better future, that it will be retail adopted technology and ecosystem. And I hope in 5 years, really, like maybe 50% of retail customers will be able to pay via cryptocurrencies. I hope for that. Thanks a lot for the panelists and for our audience. And so we will be finalized. Thanks a lot. Bye.